Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to welcome you this morning to a room that we designed. Are you all comfortable? Okay, great. Well, the great thing about buildings like the New York Times is that they can really be agents of change. And we've seen the buildings that we've designed here in Times Square make a real difference and make a change. The Condé Nast building, or 4 Times Square, the Thomson Reuters building, 3 Times Square, the New York Times, and as well 11 Times Square across 41st Street from where we are now, have really made a difference and have created an open atmosphere in different ways in Times Square. Open architecture means, as it does in software design, that the architecture is approachable, understandable, comprehensible by the people that are engaged with the building. When the Condé Nast building, which is the building on the right of this image, was first built in 1996, Herbert Muschamp, who was the New York Times architectural critic at the time, said that it marked a change in Times Square from a time when Times Square was really a consumer, or talked to the consumer of popular culture, and instead became a producer of popular culture. And we saw that change continue as more media companies came into Times Square. We had Thomson Reuters move into 3 Times Square. We had Viacom and MTV move into 1515 Broadway. We had the New York Times, of course, as well as many other media companies. And it really marked a change, as Muschamp said, that changed Times Square to a place where makers and consumers of popular culture could rub shoulders with the public realm. And so here's an image of the Thomson Reuters building across from Condé Nast, really anchoring that end of Times Square. But Condé Nast was the first building that came along. When it was completed, it was the first green skyscraper in the United States and set the standard for many of the sustainable approaches that we now take and are almost standard approaches in buildings that we design today. But it was also an anchor to Times Square, and it also became the first building that incorporated the new signage standards of Times Square into its base. And as opposed to many sign standards around the country, which require or set maximum amounts of signage, the Times Square signage standards actually set minimums. So you had to have a lot of signage. In the case of the center part of Times Square, you actually had to cover 80% of the facade with signage. What that did was it started to blur out the architecture that was behind it, but it also became a great communication vehicle. So in a sense, for the public, the people occupying Times Square, it created a lot more openness in communication. As you got to the corner of 42nd Street and Times Square, though, you started to see the architecture take over. The signs became less dominant, and the architecture came through. It became more of a collage as you moved down 42nd Street, where you saw buildings and signage interacting together and becoming more open. But what really happened as you turned the corner at 42nd and 8th and you came to the New York Times building was that the signage fell away as applique. It became the building itself. And in actual fact, we negotiated pretty hard with the city to make the New York Times masthead the sign and conform with the signage requirements that were part of the Times Square redevelopment area. And what's great about this, and what really drove the design of this, was that the New York Times wanted openness. They wanted to have the public perceive the openness of the press. And by doing the sign this way on the building, the animation, which in Times Square is all false animation, it's created on the video screens. The animation here are the people inside the building. And so this expression of transparency and openness of the press expressed itself both from the views outside the building in, as well as from inside the building out. So connecting the press to the world and the world to the press. There are also these wonderful connecting stairs that go up through all of the New York Times floors, which do two things. Again, express the movement of people in the building so it's transparent and observers can see those people moving. But it also, from an organizational perspective, opened up the New York Times to more communication, more collaboration. At the ground plane, the lobbies flowed through from 40th to 41st Street. Very unusual, still no other examples like this in the city of connecting one street to another in a single lobby. And from 8th Avenue in, you see this great view into the courtyard in the middle of the building. And this view from this room, which you don't see right now, but this is the view from this room, again talking about openness even from a space like this into the courtyard and through to 8th Avenue. From an organizational perspective, we opened up the workplace. The New York Times had been in closed offices, probably cigar-filled conference rooms and things like that. But they went into this new newsroom with the idea that there would be no walls, that the editors and the reporters would sit together, communicate, collaborate, and exchange information in the new information age. And then finally, 11 Times Square, across 41st Street from where we are today, was the most recent addition. And 11 Times Square is the new gateway to 42nd Street and Times Square. It's an iconic marker on the corner which signals the entrance into the Times Square district, but it also mitigates between the corporate architecture that's developing along 8th Avenue and the more cacophonous zone of Times Square itself. It creates a friendly, open environment on the ground floor, even to the point where the bollards are not designed as real security bollards, but they feel more like gateways that you pass through as you enter the building. And then finally, if you're a tenant in this building and you are in that prow that sits out over the corner of 8th and 42nd, it's open to the world. You have a new view of the world beyond from that building itself. So I think now it's time to open the screens and expose this great view. We worked very hard at maintaining the openness from this room through this wonderful courtyard all the way through to the lobby and back out to 8th Avenue to really complete the feel and complete the openness of the New York Times. So as you go into your break, enjoy the view, and thank you very much.